Welcome back, our dear viewers. A ceasefire deal brokered by Egypt to end nearly 3 days of fighting between the Israelis and the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip held throughout the night and into Monday morning, while the Palestinian Jihad group fired hundreds of rockets at Israel in retaliation. The 3-day Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip left 44 Palestinians killed, including 15 children, 4 women, and 311 were wounded. The Egyptian conducted intense communication with both sides since the outbreak of the fighting to reach a ceasefire agreement. To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning, Ambassador Bayoumi.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Sir, can you elaborate here on the Egyptian role in the mediation between the Israelis and the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip?
It's not the first time.
Indeed.
And we are trying to convince both sides that this is unfair to continue killing civilians and or sending rockets in civil places. And Egypt is one rare country who can have direct contacts with all parties. Yeah. We have long history, of course, with Palestine. Palestine is deep in our national security. And Israel, we are the first country who recognized Israel and started to give Israel its identity in our region. We have here some problems that Israel, since it was established, there isn't a majority who is ruling. No one party win an election by 50% plus one. So you are having a sort of government combined of small parties. Some of them are high to the right, some of them are far to the left. That's what, and we do not have now the generation of Menachem Begin or Shimon Peres who had the courage to conclude a peace agreement. Same thing on the Palestinian side, where Hamas is ruling Gaza, and the Palestinian question is not the first priority. But now Hamas is not engaged in this operation. It is a jihad supported by Iranian rockets. My point of view here, there is a sort of the war economy. You do not kill a small fox by a rocket, it costs you $50 million. So the 300 rockets which were launched in the last incident, it didn't hit anything in Israel. So why are you doing same time the retaliation of Israel destroyed tens of houses, killing hundreds of people. So the balance is not in our favor as Palestinian at all.
Yes, indeed.
Here Egypt is trying to do something to stop this killing, and we succeed to stop it. But this is not the end of the story. We hope that we can come to reason and to come back to the agreement of Oslo, which recognized the two-state solution, which recognized a Palestinian state on the border of 4 June 1967. And to stop this killing and massacre.
Sir, as you have kindly mentioned now, yes, indeed, we did reach somehow a ceasefire agreement brokered by Egypt, but yet, unfortunately, we might see again some rises of violence again between the two sides. So, how can we reach this agreement here between the two sides, a long-lasting agreement in order to stop the violence between both sides, Mr. Ambassador? How can we bring the two sides again to the negotiating table and resume the peace talks again?
I am afraid that any agreement to stop fighting, it will be a sort of a short time. And unless we solve the regional problem, which is a Palestinian state raising flag on East Jerusalem, this is not solution at all. So we will have to continue our efforts with the help of the United Nations and the big powers of the world. Unfortunately, the big powers are not of great help in this concern. And even the visit of the head of the President of the United States didn't help, although he mentioned the two-state solution. But this is not enough. I think that we must collect more and more support to come to an end to this unfair situation. The only people in the world who are still occupied by a
Yes.
state, it is Palestine.
Yes. And again, here, our question marks about the stance of the international community, the United Nations, the world powers. Again, why all this silence toward the escalating situation in the Palestinian territories and the rise of violence every now and then, and the killing of the innocent civilians? So, how can we stop this, Mr. Ambassador? How the international community should react in a different way? Again, the only occupied place in the world, and we are still witnessing the silence of the international community and the United Nations.
The problem that we have since 1948,
Yes,
the
indeed.
beginning
Yes.
of the problem, plenty of decisions, either on the international level and the United Nations and all its organizations, or the regional organizations such as the European Union and others, or the African Union. But Israel denying any decision against its occupation, and I am afraid now that it's not easy to get another solution in the United States Security Council, because there we are filled with the American veto, which stop any serious decision. So we have to live with this. We have to fight against this very strange situation, where the way it's not accepted by powers like the European Union, for instance. And the European Union is the largest supporter of the Palestinian economy. Even so, they do not move politically enough. They are free in the economic dimension. They are not free on the political one.
Mr. Ambassador, why is Israel not opening here its crossing borders for the Palestinians again?
Shimon Peres told me once that those who were born in 1967, they are at their 50th age, and those are the ones who are ruling Israel now. They wake up, they were born while Israel was occupying Sinai and the border with Suez Canal. So they think that withdrawing is not in their favor. They deny any efforts to withdraw, and there isn't the culture of giving the right to the Palestinians. This is a main obstacle and main problem. But also there are a minority of wise men who are telling you what is the future of a country which is establishing enemy border all over its area, and there is a state border with Israel, which is occupying the Syrian Golan, parts of Lebanon. This tragedy in Palestine against the Palestinians. Let us hope that one day we shall have an Israeli leadership who believe that this cannot continue for decades or many years.
Yes. Mr. Ambassador, how long do you think this ceasefire will hold in the Gaza Strip?
Expectations are varied from those optimistic would say it would take a couple of years, or some people who are pessimistic who say that any incident in the coming few weeks can recall another war.
A lot of violence. Yeah.
So there isn't a certain estimation here in this affair.
Sir, what led to this flare of violence which led to the killing of 47 Palestinians and from whom many were also women and children?
When you start the war, you do not see the result. The matter of fact, this war is including much more civilians rather than organized forces.
Yes.
Because we do not have a Palestinian army here on the land. We have police forces, but when the cannons of Israel is shooting at Gaza, they do not differentiate between civilians and military. And they are killing civilians, they are destroying houses. And this is really sad because I have seen the pictures of very sad women sitting in the ruins of their homes and houses, where they can go, where they can do what they can do to continue living. I am afraid that this is a policy to force Palestinians to leave their land also.
Yes. To what extent this situation is further worsening the economic situation, which was already difficult in the Palestinian territories, Mr. Ambassador?
Of course, this is a big burden. And on the other hand, the Arab states and the Arab countries are supporting the Palestinian economy.
Yes.
As I said, Europe also is supporting the Palestinian economy, and they are trying to help the refugees and trying to rebuild the schools and hospitals. But this is not enough. I'm afraid that you cannot continue like that. And we reach an area of fatigue. Everybody is helpless concerning this continuous war.
Yes, unfortunately.
You do not see any future to stop it.
Yes. Mr. Ambassador, do you expect the Israeli siege of the Gaza Strip to be reopened soon completely?
Yes, I hope so, because it is also one thing to combat war, that you give a sort of economic life and good economic life to civilians.
Yeah.
If you have a war which you are keen to continue, you do not think about violence. So I think this is one solution to stop violence in the world.
Yes. Finally, Mr. Ambassador, what's your message here to the international community regarding this difficult situation in the Gaza Strip, the flare of violence, which is every now and then, as well as the killing of the civilians and the silence of the international community? What message here do you want to deliver to the international community, to the UN and to the world powers, which are having a double standard in their containing of the situation here?
If we talk to any serious diplomat or politician all over the world, I feel that they sympathize the Palestinian situation, of course, and they agree that this has to be stopped. But they also confess that there isn't enough power to stop the Israeli aggression.
Yes.
Something strange that the Europeans would tell you, yes, we are with the Palestinian cause. Some Americans also, some Jews in the United States, they are advising Israel to accept the two-state solution. But even so, the stubborn politicians who are ruling the country, they are not in the favor of the peace solution at all.
Indeed. Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, always a pleasure to listen to your precious input, sir. Thank you very much for being our guest for today, and have a very good day. Our dear viewers, now we were talking about the ceasefire which was brokered by Egypt in order to stop the violence between the Israelis and the Palestinians. A short break, and after that we'll be back with my dear colleague Amal Mukhtar and the Decent Life Initiative.